Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, people from Star Wars RP, anyways. I'm Mark. You may know me as the person who RPs Cersei Savan, or Lamia Koresh, or Akin Bosch, or Vitor Imperius, or two characters who don't matter anymore, or Gentoro Bell. I'm going to be starting a new weekly series here as part of Star Wars RP Chaos Podcast, and this series is going to be called Tech Talk. With Tech Talk, we're not going to be solely tech oriented, obviously. We're going to also be focusing on tactics and the faction map, which we currently have displayed right here, as you can see. Now let's do a quick little zooming in, shall we? As you can see, up here we've got the Imperial Remnant, then we've got the Primeval, Shadow Dynasty, Silver Jedi, Levantine Sanctum, Mandalorians, Republic, Sith, Red Ravens, the Abrion, whatever the heck they're calling themselves now, Omega Protectorate, and the Fringe. So let's start here with factions that are in serious jeopardy right now. To be honest, there's only two or three of them. It really depends on how you look at it. Um, from what we can definitely tell, the Imperial Remnant, being that it only has two planets and it's close to two very quickly growing military powers, that thing's more than likely going to get subsumed and consumed and generally eaten up by one of these two. I don't know if the faction that's going to eat it up is going to be the Mandalorians or the Primeval. I'd assume the Primeval because they're more of an Imperial death cult sort of thing. And over here in the little corner where the Sith Empire and the New Order used to be, fond memories. Uh, this is the Shadow Dynasty. It's kind of been neglected from what I've been able to tell as of late, and as a result, I don't think they're going to really survive the cut anytime soon. More than likely, the Primeval will subsume them. There will be an easy way for them to do that, but I will get into that shortly. And we also have over here the Silver Jedi. They have twice the planets. They have the same amount of planets as these two combined, but they're situated right next here to the Levantine Sanctum, who've been dominioning. As we can also see, the Republic and the Primeval have been working hard in order to dominion over here and cut off the amount of planets they have out here. Alright, so let's discuss Dominion tactics, because as much as we all hate to admit it, there really is a tactical way to do Dominions. You've got to tactically expand your branches, for better lack of term, in order to deny the enemy as many planets as possible, while being able to encircle or acquire as many planets as possible too. So, for starters, let's look up here at the Primeval. Their best option right now would more than likely be to do a quick dominion from Helska to Belkaden, and then a dominion from Telos to Trian to Lord to Morelia. Now, by doing this, they have completely cut off the Shadow Dynasty from all these other planets down here. Taking these planets down here is really the only way that they'd be able to survive and, get in gear. Also, it would mean that once they get around the little circle and whatnot, they should be able to subsume this entire collection of planets. Some decent worlds, Lord, Organon, Cernpadal has shipyards, Valkaden has shipyards, uh, and Lord has like a working population and whatnot. But anyways, for the Levantine Sanctum, I'm not really too sure as to how to best do this, but best option I see would be to go from Midwinter to Tastral and from Eddie 4 to Ifritis. Then that would, give them a decent amount of space, including some of these custom-made planets. They're also in an excellent position if they go from Midwinter to right on the border here between these two, to Kelsier, to Kyrikal, to Egrin's world. That'll give them a way to get out here and around the Silver Jedi, because as we see over here with the Red Ravens, it's completely possible to across one of the galactic arms in order to expand. If you remember, just for all you noobs out there, well, noobs, newbies, whatever you want to call yourselves, uh, on the map, you can dominion anything that is a hex away with 100 post dominion, plus 50 posts for any extra hex away. So even if you're out here on like a galactic edge, you can still dominion out there. I mean, for example, the Red Ravens could go from Antecedent to Orzaris, and then probably go to Gamor, then go to Lyran 4 in order to get this little bit of territory here. Alright, so that's Levantine Sanctum. Now let's go over to the Mandalorians, who look like some sort of bunny rabbit. Here's the ears, it's facing this way, front legs, hind legs, poofy tail. For the Mandalorians, there isn't really much else that I can say they really need to do. I mean, they more than likely will be the ones going after the Imperial Remnant up here. In order to best do this, they need to go and Dominion from Word Confray to CAD 5 and Munilist to Valk 7. From there, they can go to Roviane and to Gulamendis if the Primeval don't get it, and to Radamanthus if the Primeval do get it. Ultimately, isolating the Imperial Remnant and leaving them fresh pickings for whoever wants to take the first bite. For the Republic, well, I'm not entirely sure what I should say here. I mean, on one hand, they're trying to get over here. I mean, they took Ossus and whatnot. For them, I'd say probably their best option would be to try and get a little cluster here, to go from Ossus to Troikan, to Thule, Thule to Yavin, and Yavin to Argonar. And obviously that should connect here at New Holstis in order to get a good chunk of the planets here before the Mandalorians can get them. The Mandalorians can get them a little more easily. They just need to acquire Vol right here from Junction and Gala, and they'll collect these planets right here. That also will make it a little bit more difficult for them to get territory if they Dominion Argonar. Anyways, so let's move over to another faction, the Sith. Now here's something that admittedly confuses me a bit. I don't know why Tython, despite being completely and utterly encircled by one Sith territory, is not part of their faction cloud. Maybe that's an error, maybe that's not something that was intended, I don't know. But anyways, what can they dominion and what can they work on? Well, if I were them, and technically I am, because Cersei's in the one Sith, Combe to T'Sonk, T'Sonk to Asani, Asani to Grados, and then Grados to either Oistra or Ashera in order to link up a connection with Silveris and collect this amount here. Because you've got a bit of a gap right here. And there are some decent planets. You got Phrasia, you can get the Atresians, the Space Asians, and also could get a little more work done here. Maybe take Iridonia and then get a little triangle here. Well, actually, looking at this, they could go from Silvaris to Shesa, and then there to Nankiasis to connect the Redout cluster and start taking this whole line of planets up here with Sybil. Okay, for the Fringe. Well, the Fringe have actually done an excellent job with their dominioning. They've managed to completely flank the Omega Protectorate. OP will really have to rush down here if they want to cut off the Fringe expansion. The Fringe will still be able to get all these planets right here with no issue whatsoever. For a quick dominion list, they have an Ajir. I suggest they dominion Syria in order to securely grasp that bit of territory. Then from Syria to Isengard in order to get a little straight line here, and then a connection from Fu in order to collect this little slant here, making it a little bit more directly conflicted with the Omega Protectorate. Out here, this should be pretty easy for them to do. They just got to go from Bespin to Anoth to Zanju 5 to Ceres to Score. And from Score, they can go to Dagobah in order to connect that entire bit of territory. For the Omega Protectorate to successfully flank them, they need to go Sullust to Praestland to Utapau to Demon's Gate or to Resu. Then they'd either need to go to Exochron or Angti, depending on how far out the fringes got with their Dominion. Either way, it would be quite difficult for them to securely get rid of that because they would have to do either a 150 post Dominion in order to securely get over here. That's the same case regardless of whether the fringe has any of these planets or not. Fringe would also have to do a 150 post Dominion in order to acquire Crystal Song 2. As for the Omega Protectorates, and boy, oh boy, hasn't it gotten a little misshapen there. It looks almost like one of those tripods from War of the Worlds. They're actually in a pretty good position to do some dominioning. Just Sullust to Chrysalis in order to, seal off this little gap here, provide more front against the fringe's currently thin line. In concert, you just need to go from Naboo to Qatar Monar 2. Or, I don't know, this map does have some errors. From there, just go to Mohopa, and then go to Tina, and from there, there's a connection to Atzuri in order to, really get that. And last but not least, the Albrion, I don't know, I'll just call it the ACA, because I think that's what it is now. AC is not really in that good of a position to do some territorial encircling, to be honest. The best route I could really see now would be for them to get a quick Dominion in from Excarga to Rothana to get the shipyards there. I also would recommend, seeing as they've got the hexes mostly filled out here, maybe a quick trip to Dolaban, then not Kularan, that would be a little bit longer. Kularan, Triffus, Zolan, and Tatooine in order to do a little bit more territorial encircling and grow this out. AC haven't been super active from what I've been able to tell recently, but it shouldn't be hard for them to get their act together. They have an excellent grouping of individuals and decent leadership as well. Anyways, on to the second part of our entire discussion here, and that is something that I very much enjoy talking about and creating. We've got tech, as you can see right here. We got vehicles, and we got starships. So since we have about 15 minutes left, I'd like to look over some of what I find to be particularly interesting. In English, I'm just going to randomly choose a selection here because, I have no idea what I'm really going to go for here. So let's check out the Shingalmi class Star Destroyer being used by the Shadow Empire. Well, at first thought, I'm not even sure if this really is a Star Destroyer. It looks more like a carrier to me. I mean, I don't see that much visible armament, but then again, visible armament's sort of out of the question there. Total equivalent of what? 300 batteries or 300 guns? I mean, I'm not entirely sure whether this was made in the pre or post era. Oh, am I kidding? I think it's made in post era. That would explain a lot. 300 overall batteries. This is going to be a real issue here. Medium blaster cannons. Blasters are only really effective against unshielded targets. Unlike lasers and turbo lasers, they don't do much damage against shields. If I were Romeo, I would highly suggest compensating for the blaster cannons with maybe some ion cannons or ion cannon equivalents in order to do shield damage. Blaster cannons, really powerful ones, should be able to do a decent amount of hull damage without draining as much power as a comparable turbo laser. Only issue is you would, of course, need to just make sure that you have the hull and shield penetration working together. Limited production, 1,500 meters in length. Interesting. Surprised that he would only go for limited production instead of minor. He could probably pull that off, but I don't know. 6 starfighter squadrons, 2 dropship squadrons, and 4 walkers. So 72 fighters. That's a reasonable amount, but there are some pre-current rule assault ships that have even more hangar space than that. Not entirely sure how 2 ion engines are really a special feature, but okay. 1 standard shield and 1 ion backup shield. Not entirely sure what ion backup shield is supposed to mean. Does that mean it has what, like extra resistance against ion cannons or something? Maneuverability rating, speed rating. Well, it is, from what I can tell, more of an assault sort of ship, so I can understand the decreased maneuverability rating. But you really didn't need to. You probably could have gotten away with an 18 at least. Hyperdrive class 1.6. It's oddly specific, but kudos to you. It's not class 2, which is either the norm or is it class 1 now. Very slow, easy to visually see. 2 engines, meaning is one goes, it's not moving anymore. Well, if it has 2 engines, I'm pretty sure it should still be able to move, though. I mean, it may not move in a straight line, but you know how that rolls. 2 bridges. Now, the 2 bridges is a smart idea. Have a main bridge and a battle bridge. The 1/6 new Exalt class Star Destroyer that they're working on is a very similar feature. And the Tulak Horde, which the Sith Empire and New Order both utilized, did a very, very good job with the battle bridge. Have to say that. Let's see. Development thread. Description. Duranium hull that can stop sensor scans. I'm 95% positive that duranium, I think you meant to spell duranium. It's not something that stops sensor scans. What you're thinking of is neuranium, Neuranium. So if it wasn't uranium, then you did a decent job. I've got to give you kudos for being able to block sensor scans with your ship. Not entirely sure how effective it would be in a real combat situation, but I could see good things out of this, especially in concert with some lighter anti-fighter ships. I mean, to be fair, you do have an interesting mix here, but what would you really need the light ion cannons for? I mean, you put them here in defensive batteries as though they're supposed to protect you from fighters, but why would you use ion cannons against fighters? Flat guns are infinitely more effective as well as point defense cannons. Flat guns more so than point defense cannons, but a good mix of the two definitely does a decent job. You know, I should. Nah. Let's see what we've got in the line of vehicles, shall we? Well, let's look. Oh, bugger. Jawa Marts, my little speeder bike created by Mechik. Wow, this is old. It's last year. Oh my gosh, I sound so retro right now. Well, um, well, that's kind of cool, actually. I wish I had something like that when I was a kid. When I was younger, pedal cars were all out of, well, they were all out, and it was powered cars that were all in. Those suckers cost like $100 back then. They cost 150 now. It's absolutely awesome to say the least. A speeder bike, a little toy like this. I mean, I don't know if it really qualifies as a vehicle, but Okay, made of plastic and Durasteel. You probably could have gotten away with just saying like Duraplast. I mean, minimal crew one, optimal crew one, pedal power wheels, 8 kilometers an hour. You could probably fit a little more on there. Armaments, just no. Oh gosh, Makic, you crack me up, man. You crack me up. You really, honestly do. I mean, just for that, just for that, I should have one of my characters buy one of these and fit a blaster cannon on it, just because. Or better yet, I'll fit a trailer to the back of it, and I'll have like there can be the little kid pedaling in the front and the little kid in the back firing off blaster bolts. So adorable, yet so lethal. All right, let's see if I can do this. Is your child 4 and up tired of seeing his or her parents drive around but not being allowed anywhere near the wheel? Want your child to get exercise while having fun? Jawa Mart now presents My Little Speeder Bike. Modeled for children 4 to 7, My Little Speeder Bike allows your child to pedal around to their heart's content on their very own miniature swoop bike. Easy steering and treaded wheels allow for your child to navigate even the toughest of terrain. An especially made seat allows for children of any species to enjoy their own speeder bike. Buy yours today at Jawa Mart. Only used on flat surfaces, not recommended for hot children. I. a, a blue pending sadness. I mean, secondary. That's just absolutely great. This really brightened my day. So kudos to you. Now let's take a quick look over here at the technology, shall we? Just gotta scroll through the first page. Wait, what the heck am I doing on page 78? Oh yeah, I was checking through. Unfortunately, some of the old submissions are completely deleted. For those of you who don't know, a while back we had an issue. An issue being November of 2013, we had a site crash and we lost almost all of our threads and other stuff. We managed to restore a good chunk of it using the cache, Google Cache. I restored all the profiles that I could, except for maybe a couple dozen out of the hundreds. Also restored plenty of faction tech. It was a very sad day, and a lot of people lost a lot of stuff. Anyways, what have we got here? Interesting. We got the Iridonian Revolver, written by Darth Ferris, otherwise known as Crest. Well, I'm not entirely sure that all these are exactly the same weapon. I mean, very clearly the third one here is a completely different cylinder from the previous two. I suppose these two could maybe, probably not be the same type. But anyways, they look like very nice weapons. Let's see what we got here in the sub. Open market has modularity, barrel length, grip sights, custom design. Sounds a lot like a real weapon. Durasteel, I don't think you really had to put revolver components. All of that's probably made of Durasteel, but good job covering your tracks there. Classification: slug thrower. Well, let's see here. Let's assume, for the sake of this whole thingy, that this has a 6-inch barrel, because you say you have trouble with overall length. If you have a 6-inch gun barrel here, assuming the body is this part right here, the length of your body is probably a good 7.5 inches. Weight, 1 kilogram. Having held a 357 Magnum before, yeah, that's about right. 5 shots, that's somewhat surprising that you go for 5 shots. I sort of expected a 6-shooter, but 5 shots are still decent considering it's a slug thrower. Pretty effective against Jedi and lightly armored opponents. Iridonian Revolver. Semi-auto. Well, I don't know of any self-cocking, like truly self-cocking revolvers. The only thing that I know of that does that sort of thing is double action revolvers. Those aren't true semi-autos in the considered term, where the action of the firearm causes the thingy to. Well, then again, that's a gun lesson for another time. So, special features: sturdy frame is good for hitting people. Slugs can't be effectively blocked by lightsaber. Well, unless you're Mikhail Shorn, and then you have that massive telekinesis ability, you can probably block the bullet in midair. Who knows? Isn't Shorn gone now? Yeah, probably. Let's see. Iridonos. High damage and a lot of bloodshed. Ooh. I'll have to get one for Shinju. Maybe I can send that to her as a birthday present. Blow the arm off. Well, okay, here's the only problem that I would have if I were in this situation. You say blow the arm off an unarmored adult. I can understand that depending on the caliber in question of the firearm. But you don't mention the caliber of the firearm here. And I don't know if this is supposed to be the equivalent of 38 Special or a 44 Magnum or heck, even a 50 A. I really don't, and that's sort of frustrating because I'm the details sort of person. Simple slug revolver, high damage, high recoil, possibly injuring themselves in the process. And that's why the 357 Magnum that I occasionally use out on the shooting range is always used with 38 special bullets. Because 38 special bullets don't cause the gun to recoil massively as though it's trying to break free from your grasp. Let's see here. Nope. Well, that's mainly what we've got so far. Let's take a quick look inside the pending because we only have a couple minutes left. Pending, 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 pending. Let's see. Ooh, coming soon should be the Titan Ghost Armor from Titan Industries and the A3 Legionnaire droid from Hegemonic Automation. Regarding vehicles, whoa, that's kind of disturbing, honestly. I would have expected that this vehicle list right here would be a bit more populated than it is. So I guess I'll exit out of that. Not much going on here. There's Strike Frigate for the 1 Sith, a stiletto being made by, I can never tell if this is supposed to be a gag character or not. Because I know that there was a Darth Helmet lookalike that was supposed to be a gag character at one time, but I'm just not sure about this one. Anyways, glad to hear that you were willing to listen in to me go on for 30 minutes about tech and the map and other stuff. Hopefully I'll be here with you guys next week, maybe with a guest star at least, in order to speed the process along. Might even go for a little bit of extra time too. Anyways, so once again, this is. Hold on, I need to get my Optimus Prime voice on. This is Star Wars RP Chaos, otherwise known as SWRP Chaos podcasts. You are watching Tech Talk #1 with your host, Mark, the other scrub. Tune in next week when we do more research, more work, and more looking up all over that sort of fun stuff. Autobots transform and roll out. Anyways, well, thank you for viewing this with me. I really appreciate it. And bye-bye.